Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Abhi Bhardwaj and I'm back with lecture series on science. Today I'm going to talk about a topic which is a very hot topic all around the globe currently, and it's about uh, the virus which originated in China in Wuhan in December, and it's infecting a lot of people in China. And we have also noticed that many people who has traveled out of China has also brought this virus to countries like US, Germany, France, and then we have cases in Japan, Singapore, Hong Kong, and also in Nepal and Sri Lanka. So, when it started as an epidemic. That means, it was locally spreading within Wuhan, and then, it went to other cities within China, um, and also globally now. So it's turning more like a pandemic rather than an epidemic. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about what this virus is, how it infects humans, and also what can we do to prevent, getting sick, or make sure that we or our near and dear ones does not get infected with this virus. The reason for concern is because there is no vaccination or known drug to cure this virus. So until the vaccination is produced, which might take at least 1 year, because if they have started creating the vaccination, but it's going to take many months to first develop the vaccination, and then there's going to be animal trials and human trials. So normally it takes 1 year, and that's the critical time when most of the deaths can happen. Also, I want to mention here that I'm not a medical doctor, neither I am a microbiologist. My specialization is in environment science and related epidemiology, which is related to pollution. But that being said, all the you know all the material I'm going to talk about on this virus is basically my personal opinion, and I felt that I must share this, so that more and more people could understand what this virus is and how they can save themselves. So this virus belongs to a family of viruses called coronavirus, and the name of the virus was given as 2019 nCov. N stands for Nobel, and the CO stands for Corona, and V for virus. So basically, it belongs to Corona virus family, and there were other deadly viruses from the same family, such as SARS, which is also called as severe acute respiratory syndrome, came in 2003, killed about 800 people. And similarly, there was another one called MERS. This was Middle East Respiratory Syndrome, came in 2012, and also killed a lot of people. So the one which we are experiencing currently also looks like very deadly virus, as far as the data is coming from China. And Viruses normally are, you cannot call them either alive or dead. So basically, viruses just contains RNA and protein around it, and that's what it has. And what it does is it enters the host cell, and that's where it reproduces, and go from one human to another. So its life cycle is basically within the host. The main similarity between all these viruses is that they all came from or jumped from one species to another. That means they were infecting animals before, and now they have jumped from animal to human. So it's basically very dangerous, because these kind of viruses cause the most havoc. Now, what happens when when you for example, get in, how do you get this infection? So the main pathways are, you can breathe it through nose. You can also get it if your hands are contaminated with the virus, or you put somewhere, your hand where someone who was infected coughed or sneezed, and the droplets were there on their surface, and you touch that, and now you touched your eyes, for example. So you can get it by touching your eyes or nose, or you can breathe it through nose, or you can also get infected by eating, using your hands which are contaminated. So without, if you do not wash your hands, then you can get it as well. So what we need to do is, how can we prevent? So first thing comes to mind is mask. And people think that if they wear the mask, then they are protected, but that is not true, because mask does not protect you 100%. um, the best masks are the surgical masks, but they're also called N95 surgical masks. But the problem with that is also that it has to be customized to your face. If they are not customized, then viruses can still go through wherever there are holes, and you can breathe the virus very easily. Reason for that is the viruses are very small. They are smaller than bacteria. They are normally 100 nanometers. So that means it's extremely small, and they can, if there is any gap in your mask, they can get in, and you can breathe that. So that's masks are not 100% protection. Just keep that in mind. Also, your eyes needs to be covered, because if somebody is sneezing or coughing, and if any direct droplet goes to your eye, or it goes through your contaminated hands, you can still get sick. So the best prevention for this, which everybody can do, is washing their hands. So when you wash your hands, make sure that you wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with good soap, and make sure that they are thoroughly cleaned. And that is the only thing you can do, and actually this thing can prevent a lot of infections. So that's what you should be focusing on. Also, if you say by chance get infected, you do not have to start panicking right away, because what happens is that most of the coronaviruses, for example, the one we know, rhinovirus, which cause common cold, or upper respiratory problems. They do not infect lungs. Only the ones which are create more complications are like flu virus, the influenza virus. uh, they can infect not only the upper respiratory organ, but also go into lungs and cause pneumonia. One known example of such virus in recent times is in 1918, when Spanish flu, that was an influenza virus, H1N1, and that virus almost infected 500 million people all around the world, and around 50 million people were killed. So that was really one of the most devastating infection for humanity. And any such viruses, like the one we are looking at now, can actually cause such damage. So we have to be very careful, especially the most critical period is when we do not have any vaccination, and we are developing that vaccination. So the first year during which the vaccination would be developed, that would be the most critical year, and you have to make sure that only way to not get infected is by making sure that you prevent that infection. And as the saying goes, prevention is much better than cure. So prevention is the key here, and the best thing to do is wash your hands. But coming quickly to infection, so say if you get infected, and why the complication happens is because when you look at our lungs, there's trachea, there's right primary bronchus, left primary bronchus, and it branches out very much similar to like a tree branches. And then the smallest branch of these are called bronchioles, and then each bronchiole basically leads to alveoli, and that those are also called air sacs, and that's where the oxygen exchange happens. So when you breathe, the oxygen is taken from alveoli, and alveoli are covered by capillaries where the blood is flowing through, and that's where blood releases the carbon dioxide into the alveoli and takes the oxygen from the air you breathed in, and it combines with the hemoglobin, makes oxyhemoglobin, and which is then the blood is taken to the heart, and then it supplies all the tissues and muscles in your body, the oxygen. And basically when the carbon dioxide comes back, it also goes through through those capillaries into the alveoli and exhaled out. So that is the process. And what happens when you get infection of lungs, especially pneumonia, caused by these kind of viruses, your alveoli get filled with liquid. And where does that liquid comes from is because alveoli has alveoli fluid in it, and when you get infected, then there's an inflammation in your alveoli, and that inflammation causes the leak of this fluid into the alveoli, and they are filled with liquid then, and oxygen cannot now pass through and go to the bloodstream, and that's where you experience dyspnea. And what is that is breathlessness basically, and that leads to severe situation. In such situation, you definitely need to go to the hospital, and any emergency in the hospital, and get admitted, because you need life support. So, either a ventilator or something which can help you past that period when your alveoli are filled with the liquid. Once they dry up, you're going to be becoming normal, but that's the period which is the most critical period. It's not everybody who gets infected by these viruses gets all these complications. Some people will just feel it mild, some people might have severe condition. So it depends on person to person, and if it is mild, then you don't need to do anything. Your body also start taking care of itself when when it comes to know that it's under attack. For example, viruses, when they go inside the cell and divide, they also produce toxins, and when this kind of toxin is produced, the signal is sent to the brain, hypothalamus part of the brain, and the body raises the temperature to protect itself. So your body temperature would raise, which will cause the fever, and you should not take any Tylenol or any paracetamol to reduce the fever, because that is the way body fights the infection. When the fever is high in your body, viruses cannot multiply as they would in colder environment. So that's the reason the body raises the temperature, and also your immune system works perfectly into 100% when the temperature is high. So it's good for anybody who's infected to have fever and let the body fight the disease itself. If you feel breathlessness, then definitely at that time you need to call the ambulance and go to the hospital. Other than that, I think if you make sure that you could at least prevent it, rather than getting infected, you just make sure that you do everything in your hand to basically make sure that you don't get infection at the first place. So these are the things I wanted to discuss with you guys. Thanks for watching.